Good evening, Highland Park, Michigan. Tonight we're going to bring you a special event. We have Mayor Hubert Yopp here to bring us a community update. Also, we have a few other Highland Park City workers. We have Chief Kevin Coney and we have the DPW Director Willie Faison. So right now I'm going to introduce you to Mayor Hubert Yopp, and I'm going to also call Chief Coney up here so he can give you guys a little bit of information as well.
Good afternoon. I'm Mayor Hubert Yopp, City of Highland Park. We're here today to get an update. I want to give you some of the progress we've made in the city and talk about some of the things that we like, some of the things we'd like to see, and some of the things that are not in favor of our city. You know, our administration took office January of 2016. That was a bad time for Highland Park as we were facing a $20 million lawsuit from DWSD and Great Lakes Water Authority. That lawsuit was going to be levied on the residents and businesses or the taxpayers of the city of Highland Park. To this day, they have not levied that lawsuit. And that's because we've had a great staff working toward a remedy for that lawsuit. Calvin Grisby, an attorney from California, Terry Ford, our own local attorney, Morgan Roth, Kathy Square, and others worked on that lawsuit to a point where I feel comfortable that we're going to come out okay in this lawsuit. And I do know that had that lawsuit been levied, I think we would have all moved out. Thank God, I think we're making great progress. We encountered many lawsuits when we took office back in 2016. Some were police department, some were others. Our internal legal department dealt with the lawsuits and did a great job. We had some police officers that we weren't too pleased with, and they're no longer with us. We have a great police department at this time. But I want you to know that the progress we've made with the minimum budget has been, we still got police and fire services. We have garbage pickups. We have street cleaning. We have tree trimming, our water, and all of the services that a community should have. We're not as fortunate as Birmingham or Bloomfield, but we're moving right along. We got all the basic services. I want you to understand that with this minimum budget, we are having a problem recruiting police officers, as is Detroit, Birmingham, and every agency in this area is having a problem with recruiting police officers. Now, on the issue of police officers, I want to include the chief in my remarks coming up. We attended virtually a city council meeting on the 5th of October. And at that meeting, Councilman Rodney Patrick voted not to provide police cars to the police department. Now, the value of those cars, I'm going to stop here and I'll reserve my remarks till after the chief speak about the value and what he needs with those scout cars.
We currently have about 10 vehicles. 2 of them are fairly newer, but the rest of our fleet, the average miles on them are approximately 113,000. They no longer make parts for these Crown Vic vehicles that we are currently driving. The Michigan Motor Vehicle Code says after 75,000 miles, we should get rid of these vehicles. But a lot of agencies are unable to do that. But we had a grant to get 3 new vehicles, and we are in desperate need of these vehicles. I don't know why this happened, why we can't get them, but the citizens need these vehicles. If we have to respond to a run, we shouldn't have to get in the car and wonder if it's going to start, if it's going to run right, if the light's going to work, if it's going to cut off. The weather's about to change. These are SUV vehicles that we're getting, all-wheel drive. One of them is an all-wheel drive Explorer. The other one is a pickup truck that we are in desperate need of. Now, we have some vehicles that are running, so I don't want the citizens to be paranoid about that we don't have any vehicles. But the ones that we have that we are in dire need to replace, we need them vehicles. So I'm pleading to everybody, please, Rodney Patrick, and whoever else has any say-so, please allow us to get these vehicles because we are in dire need of these vehicles that have already been accounted for. The grant, we approve for them. All you got to do is say yes, and we can get these vehicles. So I'm thanking Mayor Yopp for allowing me to get on the radio station and plead the case that we need these vehicles. Thank you, Mayor Yopp.
You know, I want to add to that, as most of you know, my discipline was police and fire services. I operated in both police and fire, primarily police. And when I think about defective vehicles, I think about officers getting to a run, say a gun run, and they get there and they're outgunned, and they need to leave and the vehicle won't start. That's lives in danger. Or you, the residents, there's an intruder in your home, and you need the police right away, and you call the police, and they can't respond because of defective vehicles. And as the chief said, the grants have already been processed for these vehicles. Why the city council, Rodney Patrick, the primary, but even the council president, you could have overridden him, because this is about the residents' safety. We have a police department for just that purpose, to keep us safe from harm. So with that, I'm going to say that how can we not protect our residents? You pay taxes. That's what you pay for. We must provide security and safety for you, and we will. I would say that at this point, we should have 5 city council people. We only have 4. Ms. Deblon Jackson has been trying to get sworn in for the last few weeks since the loss of Ms. Lewis. I'd like to see Devlon and a quota of 5 on that council. You know, I think the people of this city need to rise up and pay attention to what's going on in city council. They're not really paying the attention to the needs of the residents as we should. Right now, the city council has expressed a dire interest in cannabis, not the interest of our citizens. You can rise up and argue to get cannabis, but you won't argue to get scout cars for the police department. And I'm riding this horse because it's a very important horse. Scout cars for the police department and cameras and equipment is necessary to keep our police department and fire department going. You know, I heard on that very council meeting that Warren Evans and Martha Scott introduced Mr. Eric Means to our city. That's a falsehood. Eric and I talked before he even started to develop the west side of the city, west of Hamilton. Eric and I came together with an agreement that they would develop the west side of Hamilton, and I invited Martha Scott and Warren Evans to sit in on a meeting that I called in the boardroom, and we left the boardroom and went to the site of the development. They were highly pleased that that blight would be taken out of the city and a positive project would be implemented. I want you to know that that project is a $40 million project and approximately 400 jobs or more. And I'm so pleased that we have made the progress with the Eric Means project, but we've also made progress with Mobis. That's a company over in the Oakland Plaza. Also with companies like Faurecia. That's a new company with about 250 jobs. Mobis, about 200 jobs. Magna expanded, and they added another 200 jobs. In order to get these jobs, they have assured me that Highland Parkers and Detroiters would be first served with these jobs. Now, Miss Cheryl Sanford of Michigan Works qualify our folk to work in these factories. Cheryl Sanford is at 144 Manchester. Her phone number is 313-736-5512. 313-736-5512. If you're interested in a job, then you need to contact Cheryl Sanford. We got plenty of jobs coming up. Now, when I talk about jobs and the growth of the city, I consider cannabis. As Mr. Patrick said, it's billions of dollars. Sure. Who's getting the billions of dollars? not the city. The owners of the growth operations and those with medicinal shops. I believe I heard Mr. Patrick say that the license fee was like $5,000. I don't believe Laura is going to allow 36 licenses in this 2.9 square mile city. If we get 3 licenses, $15,000. When you look at one business that I just quoted, you got income tax, property tax, water. That's certainly more than $15,000. And all the employees, a lot of employees will be living in our city. We have people coming into our city now, finding that this is a great city to live in, to raise a family. Who wants to raise a family when on every corner you got a cannabis shop? You got 36 licenses. That's a lot of cannabis in our city. Now think about the personnel that will be coming into our city, the unwanted characters. They come into our city to buy weed. They come into our city to go to the local store and steal, commit larceny to get money to buy weed. They break into shops to get items to sell, to buy weed. We don't need cannabis right now. When you think about what we might get in finances, it's not comparable to the businesses that we have brought into the city. Give the businesses a chance to grow. We've worked hard to get these businesses here, and we got a great staff now. We got our police department. We got Chief Coney. We got our deputy chief, Miss Heather Holcomb. We have a new CED director. We've got a new HR director, and we're doing fine. We're doing fine. Give us a chance. I've got about 25, 26 months left on my tour of duty here, and I'm going to retire, permanently retire. I've served this city most of my adult life, and I'm going to retire. But I want you to understand that cannabis is not the answer. Cannabis is trouble. I just stated to you that we are having problems hiring police officers. If you get that cannabis here, we're going to need double the amount of police officers we have now, because the council will tell you that if you open up a cannabis shop, you got to have security. That security is for that premise. Let a shooting take place, and it get on the sidewalk. That's your local police, because it's in the public. It's in the city. We don't have the police officers to handle that kind of caseload. We got to think about these things before we venture off into it. Cannabis is not for Highland Park. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to tell you how old I am, but I am old. But when our city was beautiful, Highland Park was the model city of the continental United States. And then along came cannabis. Now, I'm telling you how it happened. Cannabis. That was Officer Lester Love and Ronald Parham. They discovered cannabis being sold out the back door of a home. They went to the captain and told him, and the captain told them, as long as it's inside, leave them alone. And it spread like wildfire. It got out of hand. And all those good citizens left our city because of dope. Cannabis is a form of dope. Heroin, cocaine, pills is dope. You don't want that in our city. I just stated, we got people moving back into the city. They're moving in because Highland Park has a great reputation. Our police department has been doing fine. Our homicides, minimal. Our crimes, minimal. And we got a minimum manpower police department, but they're doing a great job. So let's work toward keeping our businesses here and keeping the jobs. With the jobs, people will move in and occupy the structures that we have in Highland Park. I also want to mention the fact that, excuse me, our new residents that are coming to Highland Park, I just want to welcome all of you. I have on my street, I have like 4 new families. And I'm going to say again, families. Families do not want their children around cannabis or any other kind of criminal activities that will create criminal activities. Thank you. We have had 3 emergency financial managers in our city. And I'm not going to sit here and knock the financial managers, but I will tell you this. A financial manager's only concern is balancing a budget. When they turn it over to local control, a mayor's got to be concerned with the needs of the people. And therefore, you have to spend money to bring in those services that are needed. So the budget's not balanced. Well, you know, we have, as I stated, we had 3 financial managers. And we had Mr. Blackwell, who was a resident of Highland Park. I worked under him. He was, in my opinion, one of the best financial managers we had, perhaps because this is his home. But I do know that he worked hard to improve our city. He put a roof on the library. And speaking of the library, Danny Glover came to our city in 2009. He came here to make a movie and to assist Highland Parkers in reopening the library. Myself and Mike Kouris, who owns the mall here in Highland Park, we went to a function held at a bar and grill downtown. There was a line around the corner to get in that place because you would autograph and photograph with Danny Glover, as well as drink and eat with him. Well, it was $100 per person. I took 2 of my family members. It cost me $300. There was no excuses. Mayor or not, your title didn't mean nothing. You paid the $100. And so Mike had several members of his family paid the $100, although he had written a check for $1,000 earlier. We raised money for the library's reopening. I'd also like to say that Jennifer Granholm was the governor at that time. Governor Jennifer Granholm sent her chief fundraiser down to our city. She set up shop on the 2nd floor of City Hall. There was money raised. And when I say money, I don't know the exact amount because I didn't count it, but I know there was a lot of money. And it was cash money at the Danny Glover function. Well, I took office 2016, as I stated, and Morales, I think his name is Eben, the big guy, Eben Morales, he came to my office, he and some other citizens, and he asked me, what are you doing about Rodney Patrick and that library money? Have you investigated? Well, I hadn't investigated. I'm the mayor now. I'm not a police officer. But I did start to look into it after Morales brought that to my attention. I got the bank records, and I talked to Rodney Patrick myself. I asked Rodney about the money. Rodney told me that the bank was taking money from the funds raised because I guess it's so much a month to house your money. At any rate, he told me he gave Glenda McDonald $2,900. And I saw Glenda a couple weeks later. She said, he didn't give me $2,900. He gave me 28 and some change. Well, I rounded it off. But, you know, I'm laughing because when she said 28 and some change, you know, I found that kind of humorous. But this is serious business. It's serious business. Can you imagine the literacy Rodney have cheated our children out of? The literacy that he's cheated our residents? We could be in the library now, continuing to educate our children while this COVID-19 is going on. It's serious business, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to say this. What I tell you here, I can prove. Rodney called me a lie at one council meeting. He said I was a big liar. Do you remember Danny Glover coming here? Do you remember the fundraisers? I interviewed some of the commissioners that work with Rodney. They never handled money. And I'm going to say this. Rodney Patrick tried to sell Ford School, a $400,000 structure. He tried to sell it for $2,000. It was not his to sell. It belonged to the school system. I got the documentations. The colonel, I got his information. The colonel that was going to buy the building for $2,000. I got his information. I got the documents from Miss Yvette Robinson's files. I keep those files because there's evidence. And I want to say this. Rodney Patrick was in my office about 5 different times with a development group, and they were called EFN. They were attempting to build cement homes in our city. Well, I didn't know anything about it, but I took the time to go to Birmingham, Bloomfield, and other places. And I went to one structure, and it was cement. And I asked the gentleman about it. He says that that building, after about 5 or 6 years, would have striation cracks on the walls. It wouldn't lose any heat or let any cold in, but striation cracks. Well, EFN wanted to build these houses in Highland Park at $250,000 per. How would I look 5 years from now? They bought a house, and Yopp was a supervisor. Now I got striation cracks in my home for $250,000. Well, when Rodney came to my office with the engineer that was representing the group, I knew him. He was one of the guys that worked on our new fire station. And I asked him in front of everyone, will these structures have striation cracks? He hesitated, but he said yes. And so the group, EFN, offered me a trip to Florida, a weekend, airfare, hotel, and the whole thing for a weekend. I didn't go because I knew I'm in a position where I have to make a decision. Rodney Patrick took the trip. He was sitting on council, and any development project has to go through council. So he got paid, or shall I say, he accepted gratuities. And I would not, because I knew better. We're in a position to make decisions. I don't do that kind of stuff. And I must say this, there's a number of things that occurred when he tried to buy the Ford School. There was a legal mind living in our city, and I got a letter, and I still got that letter. Terry Ford and myself disagreed. And Rodney has involved himself with a number of unethical moves. And I just want you to know, and you can come to my office, and I'll show you the paperwork that I have. Now, I want to get back to the weed a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, we have approximately 200,000 transit people coming through our city every day. Bumper to bumper going south in the morning, bumper to bumper going north in the afternoons. These people are looking at Highland Park, Woodward Avenue, and Hamilton. On Woodward, that's one of the places, and I have the initial ordinance that the council wrote. The council wrote an ordinance, and I'm going to share that information with you. I'll just tell you this. The ordinance identified a location. It said East Grand at Woodward. East Grand on the north side of the street to the south alley, to the east alley. The Medical Arts building is what he was describing. I got that ordinance, so if you want the proofs, I got it. Find out who owns that building. They were going to work for that guy to get him the cannabis. And somehow, I guess common sense hit him. But I got that ordinance, and I'll share it with anyone. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as hard as this council is fighting for cannabis, we need to have someone monitoring their activities. Now, I'm all for moving the city along in a legal and legitimate way. I don't want to involve myself in anything illegal, and I'm saying cannabis is not for Highland Park. I don't know how this council can put together an ordinance for cannabis without including the mayor. I'm going to read something to you. In our charter, Section 5-4, restrictions on the council. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll read a part of it. City council, nor its members, shall give orders to or request any service of any officer or employee, either publicly or privately, unless they go through the mayor. So the police department, you're going to need that, cannabis. The fire department, The fire marshal, he does building inspections. Building inspections, he go in the building to see if there's explosives, if there's flammables. So when the firefighters get there, they don't get blown up. So this group, the city council, needs the mayor in any ordinance they put together regarding our public safety. Because the public safety, safe built, inspections, reports to the mayor. You can't talk to them legally according to the charter unless you come through me. But I'm willing to participate and agree or disagree with anything I feel that's right for our city. So I'm going to take a break, and we have Mr. Faison here who will pick it up shortly and tell you more about what's going on in the city.
Hello, my name is Willie Faison. I am your DPW Director, City of Highland Park, appointed by the Honorable Hubert Yopp. I want to share some things with you about what the Department of DPW is doing in the city. I'll be brief with my comments, but I'd like to tell you all of this has started from repairing our Act 51 funds. Without those funds, DPW would not be able to perform the tasks that you see us performing presently. With the trees, with some of the alley cleanups, with blight removal, also with the upcoming programs that we have as far as reopening these alleys up. So with the trees, we've so far cut down 290 plus trees. We're ending the first list of trees that we received from MCA, which is the engineering company, our city engineers that developed the list in the first place. We're developing a secondary list because there have been a lot of residents that's called me stating that there was an X on the tree, and we missed a tree. Well, we didn't miss the tree because there was an X on the tree and we didn't see it. We did not cut the tree down because it was not on our first list. So the secondary list, we'll be adding those trees with X's on them that were left from the first round. And we will be putting in another RFP, or not another RFP, another request for council to approve the secondary list so we can continue cutting these trees down in the right of way because they're being paid by Act 51 funds. With the street sweeping, as you notice that the streets are a lot cleaner than what they've been in previous years. In fact, the streets haven't been properly swept since 1994. We are now in the last part of the second stage of cleaning. Wednesday, we'll be starting the third stage of cleaning, which will clean the streets one more time throughout the city. And the city will be on par with the rest of southeastern Michigan as far as the cleanliness of the streets. Why is that important? Because if you remove all of the debris that falls down into our catch basin system, it will reduce the overall cost that the taxpayers have to pay for stormwater runoff that runs into Gleewa. That's Great Lakes Water Authority. The city of Highland Park does not have a reclamation system. It all goes to Detroit. So what I'm sharing with you in that regard is if we can reduce what goes down into our catch basins, we reduce the overall cost to the citizens of Highland Park that pay that bill. When it comes down to the alley cleaning, let me share with you that in 2017-18, we cleaned the alleys. We did, possibly $30,000 worth of damage to the equipment that we were using to clean alleys because you couldn't get down 80% of them. We still have one piece of that equipment, and we still owe a bill to pay for damages for the first pieces of equipment that we had in here. But we're going to start addressing the alleys again over the winter, or fall, winter, and spring months. What we plan to do is before 2022 comes in, we would like to have sweepers running down the alleys, and they'll all be all the way open again, and they'll be ready for the next administration when they come in. Last but not least, we work with all the departments in the city. Whenever we call by police, by fire, or by MCA, or any building, municipal building, DPW is there. We're doing the best we can with the small staff that we have and the equipment that we have on hand. So I just wanted to share those things with you. And as regards to blight removal, we're going to continue moving blight throughout the city. So far, DPW has moved over 1 million tons of blight from the city since we've taken our positions. So with that, I am complete.
We have to bring the good with the bad, and I can say that I want to thank and express my appreciation for 30th District Court, the Treasurer's Office, the Brenda Green's office, our Finance Department, MCA, our engineers, our Water Department. They're all doing a great job. But I want you to know, too, that last year and a couple years before, I noticed one of my command officers doing a great job. I went to Myers to buy some items, and I see all these Highland Park police cars up there, and I'm saying, how are you representing my city up here at Myers, but why so many scout cars? Well, when I get there and found out what was going on, I was highly pleased. We had one of our command officers, a lady named Heather Holcomb. She was a sergeant at the time. She was giving our children a Christmas, and I thought it was wonderful that she was community-oriented policing and giving those children that wouldn't normally have a Christmas, she was providing. And she's here in the studio with us today. I'm going to introduce her to you. I'm sure a lot of you will probably recognize her, and I'm proud of her. She's now my deputy chief. I didn't realize that she was senior in the department, but she's our new deputy chief. And Heather, would you like to speak to the community?
Hi, Deputy Chief Holcomb. Really wasn't prepared to talk today, so I just want to say thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to be in this position, and hopefully I can make a change in a positive manner for the city. Thank you.
Well, I'm proud of what she's done thus far for our community, for our children. She's in and out of the schools when we could go in the schools. She would speak to our children. And she's, as I stated, she's a community-oriented police officer. And that's the way police officers should be. Our police is the topic around the nation. Right now, every community wants good police officers that are community-friendly, and that kind of officer and friendliness that will bring a community and the police department closer. This is 2.9 square miles, and in my opinion, the police department and the community should know each other by name. When I was a police officer, I did learn the community by name. Of course, I interacted with sports and playing with the young guys, but I think that what Heather is doing with our children, you're meeting the children, which is good. They learn that the police are your friends. You don't have to be afraid of them. She's also meeting the parents, and the parents learn that they're good police officers that will be there for you and your family. So I just want to thank Heather for all she's done, all I've seen her do. I don't know what else she's doing, but I've seen her do some great things. We have a chief of police, and we have our deputy chief. I found out today that they went to one of the best police schools in the country. I went to police staff and command when I was a police officer with Eastern Michigan University, and they both have completed the staff and command school, and I'm proud of them. Our officers are trained at the command level, and they're showing it because they're getting the job done with minimum police officers. And I think we as a community need to give them a hand. You need to help them out there. When you see them, give them a hand. If it's just verbiage, whatever you know, whatever you can do to help our police department. We should be one big family here because we're so small. And I want to thank you again. Thank you, Heather. Before I leave, I want to say this again. And, you know, I'm not knocking Mr. Rodney Patrick, but I got to say this. Rodney Patrick has betrayed the trust of our residents. His primary interest is self-enrichment. Out of all of the heinous acts that Rodney Patrick has committed, taking the police ability to respond to residents' call for service is the worst. Nobody, not me, not anybody, not the governor or anybody, should take that away from the police department. The police department must be able to respond to the calls for service. People pay taxes. They pay to be protected. We must provide that. And I'm going to make every effort. And if, in fact, we don't get those scout cars, I'm going to contact the state attorney general and see if she can help us move that grant. It's a grant. It's not coming out of their pocket. We need to provide protection for our people, and that's what we're going to do as long as I'm here. Again, I just want to thank you for letting me talk to you today. And I want you to know that our city is truly moving along with the new businesses. Small businesses, we were getting directions, and you're getting monies to reopen your businesses. And I want to also say this. My sympathy for the governor. She's in a situation that no politician or family wants to be in. But I can say this. Our city will follow the policies of the governor. The mask, the washing of hands, the distancing. You must do that. If you want to rid our city of COVID-19, we must follow the policies delegated by the governor. And Governor, from Highland Park, we are here for you. We know you're having hard times with the threats, but we're here for you.